Good morning. It is Monday, November the 12th, and this is The Drill. And thank you very much. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States of America today, because I'm the only one that makes the presumption for the status quo. So this show is for, let me say, and I've mentioned it once before, but I want to do this on a more regular basis, emphasize who the show is for and who it's not for. Number one is that I will be critical of conservatives, or so-called conservatives. They're really reactionaries, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, etc. And a lot of lefties may decide to tune in based on what they see is the title of the show, thinking that they're going to get some left-wing programming. And if that's the case, if you're a lefty listening to the show, you're going to be utterly disappointed, because this has nothing to do with being left. I'm not criticizing Rush because he doesn't move to the left, or Sean Hannity because he doesn't move to the left. I criticize them because they're not true conservatives. Also, as far as the audience is concerned, this is not a show for the professionals. This is not a show for doctors, lawyers, psychiatrists, politicians. If anybody that's got a master's degree or above, or like I said, if you happen to be an office holder, a politician of some sort, this isn't the show for you. This is a show for the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. This is a show that takes the approach that in the struggle to defeat socialism, it's not going to be won by the politicians. It's not going to be won in Washington, D.C. It is going to be won by the rank and file. It's going to be won at ground level. It's going to be won in the grocery store, at the soccer fields, one-on-one, with each conservative dealing with the socialists in his or her life. And that in knowing how to deal with these people, knowing who they are, how they act, and how you can defeat them on an individual basis, that's going to be the beginning of the end for socialism. Because all of these politicians and activists have supporters. And it is the supporters are the people that you meet each and every day, your coworkers, etc. And they're the ones that provide money and other types of support to these lefties. And as soon as those people in your life, they realize that there is no power in socialism, they have no longer any reason to be a socialist, to act like a socialist. And so they will quit acting like a socialist. The money and votes will dry up for the political left, and we will start to see more sanity in the news. So now, as far as Rush Limbaugh is concerned, let's go to Rush Limbaugh's show. There is he was doing a show on Friday, his first show on Friday, and he was talking about a guy from Holland, and this illustrates the left and the way they think or operate. The left is going deeper than just politics. The left wants to go after reality itself. And in so doing, what they really end up doing is appealing to, and they end up being psychologistic, but they appeal to narcissists. And one of the narcissists' favorite games is gaslighting. And gaslighting is about making you think that you're crazy. They do something, you come to them and say, wait a minute, you just did or said X, Y, Z, and they turn around and look at you with a blank look and say, what are you talking about? Are you after me? Are you trying to make me look bad? Are you trying to say I need a psychiatrist or whatever? So they now put the situation on you. So they've done something wrong, but you got this vague feeling, it's kind of, how do I prove it kind of a situation. You question your own sanity. That's what gaslighting basically does. Something has gone wrong, and they make you question your sanity. Okay, and you have a lot of predators that do that. Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein, for example. And a lot of the way that they make you question your sanity is by simply acting with confidence. Okay? Because you'd figure anybody that could act the way Cosby and Weinstein acted would be skulking around in the shadows. They'd be ashamed of themselves. They wouldn't dare show their face outside. But these two individuals were brazen, bold. My grandmother used to say, bold as brass. And they're bold as brass about it. And that's part of what makes you question yourself and your sanity. Did I really see what I saw? Did I really experience what I just experienced? Cosby basically rapes somebody. When the person comes to, he's asking them, hey, do you want a drink of water? He didn't flee the scene. He's standing around in his robe like this is normal. That's part of what makes you doubt your sanity. It's called gaslighting. So here's an example of it from Rush Limbaugh's show on Friday, involving a Dutch man who decided he doesn't want to, he's 68 years old, but he doesn't want to be 68 anymore. He wants to be 49. So the guy's name is Emil Rottelband. And he was talking with a reporter about his lawsuit to legally change his age. So here you go. He's actually taking this seriously enough to sue to legally change his age. Rottelband, I feel I suffer under my age because I'm much more younger than 68. No, you're not. So when I ask for a mortgage, for example, they say, quote, it's impossible, unquote. If I go on Tinder, then I get a woman from 68 and 69. I don't want to lie. I want to be myself. So don't force me to lie. When I'm really 49 again, I will have a baby again. I will have a new car again. I will paint my house again. If I have that age again, I have hope again. I'm new again. The whole future is there for me again. So, again, this is what he's doing, is gaslighting right here. He says, don't make me lie. If you go try legally change your age to 49, you're lying to people. The reality is for this guy, they say that if you make it to age 65, on the average, you can expect to live another 20 years. Okay. So that means that he's got another 17 years to go. Right? That's going to be the way it is, whether he wants to be 68, his real age, or pretend he's 49. And I think it's fascinating that why did he pick 49? Why not? And I think the reason he picks 49 is because when you look at a picture of him, he's got his beard is gray, his hair is salt and pepper. When you look at him, you wouldn't probably guess that he was 68. He probably does look somewhere around 50. So again, the whole idea is that there's nothing wrong with him. He's perfectly sane. He's perfectly rational in what it is that he's demanding. It's the rest of the world that's crazy. Okay, and he says this with confidence, with so much confidence, he's actually filed a lawsuit. He's actually found a lawyer that's willing to take this case. And but what he's ultimately doing is committing fraud. There's no doubt about it. Because again, the reality is, and he can't escape it, cannot escape reality, he's got about 17 more years to live. That's all there is to it. Now, he's got 17 more years to live if he wants to call himself 68 or 49. The only difference is if he marries a woman, he's at 49 years old, pretends to be, and marries a woman that's 49, she's thinking he's 49 when he's really 68, he's robbing her. He's committing fraud. When he goes to a bank for a mortgage, when he goes to a bank to buy a new car, he's committing fraud. Period. There's no doubt about it. I don't care what he acts as though the reality is whatever the majority says it is. So if he can get enough people to decide that age is fluid, okay, and not fixed, not a solid fixed thing like the rest of reality, then by golly, it's fluid, and there's no reason for him not to change his age to whatever it is he wants to. You also got to look at this from the other end of the spectrum. Child's 10 years old. He decides, I don't want to be 10. I'm 18. I feel 18. I think 18. So I'm going to go out and get my age legally changed to 18. Really? But that's, again, along the lines of pragmatism, the idea of consequences. But I mean, it's just an interesting way of looking at the situation is look at it from the other end. You got the child that's 10 that wants to pretend that they're 18. Or why not, for that matter, a child that's 10, 12 years old that wants to pretend they're 21. Okay. So they're going to sue to become 21 so they can go into casinos and gamble, and so they can go to the store and buy liquor. Anyways, but that's what they're doing here. They're gaslighting. More and more and more and more and more and more. The left is appealing to narcissists and appealing to narcissism and encouraging people to be narcissistic. Because bottom line, that's what's going on here. This isn't a political statement. It's a psychological one. So when we come back, we'll see what we got coming. Hold on. Thank you very much. Welcome back. And what we got coming is it's a book on manipulative people. And I think it dovetails perfectly with the monologue there about the guy in Holland that wants to pretend he's 49. Now, when we left this, there was a couple of stories about a wife and another one about a mother and the way that they're being manipulated by their spouse or by their children. And now we're at a section called The Heart of the Problem. Neither victim in the preceding scenarios trusted their gut feelings. Unconsciously, they felt on the defensive, but consciously they had trouble seeing their manipulator as merely a person on the offensive. On one hand, they felt like the other person was trying to get the better of them. On the other, they found no objective evidence at the time to back up their gut-level hunch. They ended up feeling crazy. They're not crazy. The fact is, people fight almost all the time, and manipulative people are expert at fighting in subtle and almost undetectable ways. Most of the time, when they're trying to take advantage or gain the upper hand, you don't even know you're in a fight until you're well on your way to losing. When you're being manipulated, chances are someone is fighting with you for position, advantage, or gain, but in a way that's difficult to readily see. Covert aggression is at the heart of most manipulation. Next section, the nature of human aggression. Our instinct to fight is a close cousin of our survival instinct. Most everyone fights to survive and prosper, and most of the fighting we do is neither physically violent nor inherently destructive. Some theorists have suggested that only when this most basic instinct is severely frustrated does our aggressive drive have the potential to be expressed violently. Others have suggested that some rare individuals seem to be predisposed to aggression, even violent aggression, despite the most benign circumstances. But whether extraordinary stressors, genetic predispositions, reinforced learning patterns, or some combination of these are at the root of violent aggression, most theorists agree that aggression per se and destructive violence are not synonymous. In this book, the term aggression will refer to the forceful energy we all expend in our daily bids to survive, advance ourselves, secure things we believe will bring us some kind of pleasure, and remove obstacles to those ends. People do a lot more fighting in their daily lives than we've ever been willing to acknowledge. The urge to fight is fundamental and instinctual. Anyone who denies the instinctual nature of aggression has either never witnessed two toddlers struggling for possession of the same toy, or has somehow forgotten this archetypal scene. Fighting is a big part of our culture also. From the fierce partisan wrangling that characterizes representative government, to the competitive corporate environment, to the adversarial system of our judicial system, much fighting is woven into our societal fabric. We sue one another, divorce each other, battle with one another over our children, compete for jobs, and struggle with each other to advance certain goals, values, beliefs, and ideals. The psychodynamic theorist Alfred Adler noted many years ago that we also forcefully strive to assert a sense of social superiority. Fighting for personal and social advantage, we jockey with one another for power, prestige, and a secure social niche. Indeed, we do so much fighting in so many aspects of our lives, I think it fair to say that when human beings aren't making some kind of love, they are likely to be waging some kind of war. Fighting is not inherently wrong or harmful. Fighting openly and fairly for our legitimate needs is often necessary and constructive. When we fight for what we truly need while respecting the rights and needs of others and taking care not to needlessly injure them, our behavior is best labeled assertive. And assertive behavior is one of the most healthy and necessary human behaviors. It's wonderful when we learn to assert ourselves in the pursuit of personal needs, overcome unhealthy dependency, and become self-sufficient and capable. But when we fight unnecessarily or with little concern about how others are being effective, our behavior is most appropriately labeled aggressive. And I would use that label for the Dutchman that I was talking about earlier that wants to force himself and force his fantasy of being 49 years old instead of 68 on the rest of the world. There's no doubt that he is being aggressive, but he's portraying it as though it's absolutely normal. And again, gaslighting everybody, trying to make everybody else feel like they're the ones that are nuts. In a civilized world, undisciplined fighting, aggression is almost always a problem. The fact that we are an aggressive species doesn't make us inherently flawed or evil either. Adopting a perspective advanced largely by Carl Jung, I would assert that the evil that sometimes arises from a person's aggressive behavior necessarily stems from his or her failure to own and discipline this most basic instinct. Next section, 2 important types of aggression. The 2 most fundamental types of fighting, others such as reactive versus predatory or instrumental aggression, will be discussed later, are overt and covert aggression. When you're determined to have your own way or gain advantage, you're open, direct, and obvious in your manner of fighting. Your behavior is best labeled overtly aggressive. When you're out to win, get your way, dominate, or control, but are subtle, underhanded, or deceptive enough to hide your true intentions, your behavior is most appropriately labeled covertly aggressive, also known as passive aggressive, by the way. Back to the book. Concealing overt displays of aggression while simultaneously intimidating others into backing off, backing down, or giving in is a very powerful manipulative maneuver. That's why covert aggression is most often the vehicle for interpersonal manipulation. So, and again, it goes right back to the individual that I was discussing in my monologue, the guy from Holland who is being a covertly aggressive. And this describes him to a T. But it's not just him. It is a trend. It is a worldwide trend. And this is what the left encourages. This kind of thinking, this kind of behavior, might makes right. The ends justify the means. Most of us don't go for that because most of us aren't narcissists. We aren't part of what another book referred to as the dark triad, which is, I believe, narcissism and at least narcissism is part of that dark triad. And in other words, we're not sick people. We're healthy, and we don't need to play the games that he does. So back in a minute. Thank you, and welcome back. And this is the Ayn Rand lexicon, and today's concept du jour is consumerism. No anti-concept launched by the liberals goes so far so crudely as the conservatives' tag consumerism. It implies loudly and clearly that the status of consumer is separate from and superior to the status of producer. It suggests a social system dedicated to the service of a new aristocracy, which is distinguished by the ability to consume and vested with a special claim on the caste of serfs marked by the ability to produce. There is no such thing as consumers' rights, just as there can be no rights belonging to some special group or race and to no others. There are only the rights of man, rights possessed by every individual man and by all men as individuals. The right to be protected from physical injury or fraud belongs to all men, not merely to consumers, and does not require any special protection other than that provided by the criminal law. If a businessman or any other citizen willfully and knowingly cheats or injures others, consumers or otherwise, it is a matter to be proved and punished in a criminal court. But the precedent which the consumer protection movement is here attempting to establish is the legal hallmark of a dictatorship: preventative law. The concept that a man is guilty until he's proved innocent by the permissive rubber stamp of a commissar or gauleiter, or protects us from any private citizen who may choose to turn criminal and injure or defraud us. That precisely is the proper duty of a government. But if the government assumes a totalitarian power and its officials are not subject to any law, then who will protect us from our protectors? What will be our recourse against the dishonesty, vindictiveness, cupidity, or stupidity of a bureaucrat? If matters such as science are to be placed into the unanswerable power of a single bureau, what will guarantee the superior wisdom, justice, and integrity of the bureaucrats? Why, the vote of the people, a statist would answer, of the people who choose the ruler who then appoints the bureaucrats, of the same people whom he does not consider competent to choose electric toasters, credit contracts, face lotions, laxative tablets, or canned vegetables. You propose to establish a social order based on the following tenets: that you're incompetent to run your own life, but competent to run the lives of others; that you're unfit to exist in freedom, but fit to become an omnipotent ruler; that you're unable to earn your living by the use of your own intelligence, but able to judge politicians and devote them into jobs of total power over arts you have never seen, over sciences you've never studied, over achievements of which you have no knowledge, over the gigantic industries where you, by your own definition of your capacity, would be unable successfully to fill the job of assistant greaser. And one of the things I love best about Ayn Rand is that she pulls no punches. She comes right out, she says exactly what she means, and she defines her terms. So that was the consumerism from the Ayn Rand lexicon. So that brings us to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill, and I thank you for listening, and until next time, have a great day.